StrayAllDay.com.
Tuned into the show where you learn the discipline, show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is go get an energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is identifying the big dominoes in your life. Before we get into this, I'm going to remind everybody, or tell you if you didn't know, I send out a text message every day that is guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day. It is called the Daily Motivation. It has received rave reviews over the years. I also send out a text every week. That's a little bit longer format. It'll get your week started the same way. It's also gotten rave reviews, and I want you to get both. So all you got to do is text me at my number, 305-384-6894. If you're in my texting community, it's completely free to join the community. We'll tell you what your options are as soon as you get in there. Just text me at that number. It's down below in the description as well. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is a place where I do all my coaching. If any of you has ever wanted to be coached by me directly, or maybe you had never thought about it, but now that you know that I offer it, maybe you want it, all you got to do is go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's the only place that I do any coaching. It's the only way to work with me directly. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com right now while you're listening to me talk. That link is down below in the description as well. So you don't have to go search for it. All you got to do is click the link down below in the description, like I just told you. Next, let's get into the topic, which is identifying the big dominoes in your life. When I say big dominoes, we're not talking about pizza shop. We're talking about dominoes like, if you ever seen, I don't know, I only seen this on social media where someone puts like a big domino display together. They got all these dominoes standing up on the long side, or on the short side rather, and then they knock down one, and then it does this big like maze of dominoes gets knocked down. It looks really impressive, and people, I don't know, they spend hours putting these things together in order to make those videos. I don't know why they do it, but y'all know what I'm talking about, right? So what a big domino is not about you doing the same thing with big dominoes. It's about identifying the things in your life or business that when they are completed or addressed or handled, they do most of the heavy lifting for everything else moving forward. In other words, what's the one thing that can take care of 20 things? That's what a big domino is. So you took a list of 18 things you need to do. The big domino in that list is the one out of the 18 that will render the other 17 things either completely irrelevant, i.e., you don't even need to do them anymore because you took care of the one big thing, or you no longer need to tend to them because the big domino basically takes care of all of them by itself. So big dominoes, when handled, save you time, energy, and every other resource when they are addressed properly. And there's a challenge with big dominoes. This concept is relatively simple to understand. There's a challenge with big dominoes. There's a reason why many people never get to them, and we're going to get to that in today's masterclass. So let's get into it. Point number one. Topic, once again, is identifying the big dominoes in your life. Number one, big dominoes are not easy or convenient to deal with. They're usually the most challenging, most difficult, most daunting things that you would need to deal with in your business. And they're the reason, because of that, that's the reason why a lot of big dominoes never actually gets knocked down or addressed. And people instead choose to deal with the small, littler dominoes simply because they're easier to address. They're allow us to feel like we're getting something done, and they're usually smaller dominoes. Usually are things that fit within our comfort zone and our normal range of behaviors. So we just ignore the big dominoes so we can focus on the small dominoes. And this is what people usually do. There was a scene in this TV show called The Wire. That this show was out probably about 20 years ago now, and some of you know it. It was a series on HBO, classic TV show. And there was a scene in the show I remember where and the show was this particular season of the show was focused on drug dealers in the city of Baltimore, Maryland. And in this particular scene, the head of a certain drug dealing crew, he was sitting in the courtyard of a project, a public housing project where they did their drug dealing, and he happened to notice that two of his crew members were sitting down at a table and they were playing checkers, but they were playing checkers with a chessboard. So they were using a chessboard. Well, a chessboard and checkers board are actually the same board. They were using chess pieces and they were playing checkers. So the head of the crew, he walked over, he looked at what they were doing, and he saw the way they were moving the pieces, and he was curious because it's like they're not moving the pieces like chess pieces are supposed to move. He said, "What are y'all doing?" And one of the guys said, "We're playing checkers. What do it look like we're doing?" He said, but y'all using chess pieces. And the other guy said, so? And then the head of the crew said, no, y'all can't be sitting here playing checkers with chess pieces. Y'all don't know how to play chess. Let me explain to y'all how the game works. And they first kind of fussed a little bit because they didn't want him to interrupt the game, but he interrupted it because he had the clout to do so. He interrupted the game and he started explaining to them how to play chess. And he basically drew a bunch of parallels between the game of chess and drug dealers out in the street, which is what all these guys were. And there was a great sense. It was a great symbolism in that scene because the way that he described it, it fit a bunch of characters who were on the show. So if you saw the show The Wire, you probably remember that scene. But the whole point of me bringing that up is to say that many people avoid the big dominoes, i.e., learning how to play chess, and instead just play checkers. And that's actually a very good metaphor. I'll give myself credit for that one. But the whole point here for all of you is the big dominoes are the things in your life that you may know that you need to do at some point. You know, at some point you're going to have to deal with them, but you avoid them or you put off dealing with them simply because they're not easy. And again, the smaller tasks are easier to do. So you just do a whole bunch of little stuff instead of doing the one big thing. Even though doing the one big thing would mean, hey, you don't even have to do the little things anymore because they no longer matter. They no longer exist. So when we talk about things like the 80-20 principle, which we discuss often here on the show, big dominoes are the things in that 20% that produce 80% of the results. But again, most people spend the majority of the time on the 80% of things that produce only 20% of the results. But again, it makes us feel busy and productive because we're doing stuff. See, we do this again because 80% inputs are usually easier for us to do. They don't force us to do or think anything outside of our normal comfort zone. And they allow us to feel as if we're achieving something just by sheer activity. Just by activity alone, we can feel productive and active, but we're not really being effective. We're not really making any difference by doing those things. But we can always, just check boxes and say, hey, look at all the stuff that I did today, even though it didn't really move us forward. This is how people get stuck with the little dominoes instead of the big ones. Moving on to point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is identifying the big dominoes in your life. Number 2, big dominoes, when addressed, take you out of your normal mode of operation, also known as your comfort zone. When you address a big domino, you're stepping out of your comfort zone. Interesting thing about the big domino is that it's usually not some mystery to us what it is. When we are pressed about the big dominoes in our lives, which usually happen in some form of coaching, because you have someone around you who will ask you maybe the tough questions that you've been avoiding, or they are noticing the things that you're pretending not to see, which we talked about a few episodes ago. Let me pull up that episode where I talked about that. That was episode number 2709. What are you pretending not to see? See, when you get around people who will notice these things that you pretend not to see and they actually make them obvious, most people are usually very cognizant of a big domino that could make a big difference in their lives or their business. Most of the time, the big dominoes in your life are not complete mysteries to you. Now, you may not know exactly how to handle the big domino. You may not, you may believe you don't have the resources or the knowledge or the tools to address the big domino, but it is not some brand new thing that has never occurred to you when someone points out what a big domino might be for you. You understand? So you're aware of it. Maybe you just don't know what to do or how to do it, or at least you think you don't know what to do or how to do it. So therefore, you're just letting it sit there and doing nothing. Okay, so many people don't address their big dominoes, again, not because of ignorance, but because of discomfort with actually dealing with them, because of how much change it would require. Maybe change for you to address it, change in the process of addressing it, or the change that would come about if you were to knock down that big domino. If you actually address that, well, a whole lot of things in your life or business would shift in such a way that maybe you're uncomfortable with what you think that difference would be. So instead, you do nothing so you can stay in the spot that you're in, because it's more comfortable to stay in the spot you're in and deal with the discomfort of that shift and that change that would happen if you were to do all that stuff. This is like, I remember I was talking to some middle school kids several years ago, and we were talking about careers and money and things like that. And one of the kids in the class said, well, when I get older and start working, I want to make money, but I don't want to make too much money, because if you have too much money, then it becomes a problem, and people may not like you, and then people start coming after you, and then everybody wants something from you. So yeah, I want to make money, but just not too much. And then all the other kids basically co-sign what he was saying. And this concept that I talk about in one of my TED talks, where I talk about driving with the emergency brake on. It's like somebody says, I want to move forward, but I don't want to move forward too much because I don't want to deal with all the stuff that I think comes with getting a little bit too good or going a little bit too far. Reminds me of a female I once knew years back. She was asking me to show her around a gym so she could do workouts on her own because she had never really used the gym and didn't really know how to use the equipment. And I told her that I would, and she said, "Well, let me warn you before you do that, Dre. I want you to know that I don't want you trying to groom me to be some kind of when you show me how to use a gym. Understand? I just want to be in shape and get toned up. I'm not trying to be one of those muscular girls who looks like a man because she has all those big muscles, and girls who do like those weight bodybuilding competitions. I don't want to be one of those girls." And it was funny that she was saying that. It was actually ridiculous that she was saying that because she had never even worked out in her life. So you're worried about having too many muscles you haven't even worked out before. How about you just figure out getting to the gym 2 days in a row before you worry about having too many muscles? But this is what happens with a lot of people is that they stop themselves from doing something that would create a shift in their life because they think creating that shift will make them very uncomfortable, but they don't even know what the shift looks or feels like because they've never been there before. You haven't even done it yet. So this is driving with your emergency brake on. So I want to get there, but I don't want to get there too fast because I don't know that could lead to some type of problem that you don't even know about. And again, these are the things that people, as they metaphorically call it, the boogeymans that people set up in their minds to make them afraid of what might happen. All right, this requires the change of eliminating a bunch of things that you're comfortable with. See, knocking down a big domino means you're probably going to get rid of a bunch of things that are normal and comfortable for you and that you're always doing. It also requires that you're going to be doing more things that you don't do a lot of. And that's a lot of change at once for anyone. And this is the reason, again, main reason why many people never change. This is an emotional and mental challenge. This is not a skill challenge or a strategic challenge. All the while, these changes are the very things that will take a person to their next level. However, getting to the next level is not always easy. This is the reason why people don't go to the next level. Because if it was easy, then everybody would go to the next level. So it's a long trek. Getting to that next level is like it's a long trek across a void. You have to cross a void, which for some time means you're neither in your old location because you let go of that, nor are you settled in your new location because you haven't gotten there yet. So this emptiness or this void that I'm referring to is what most people want to avoid. Most people want to avoid being in the void. And this is the reason why many people don't move forward because the only way to move from level 2 to level 3 is you got to deal with the void that is in between level 2 and level 3. You got to deal with that empty space in between the two. You do not just walk from level 2 to the level 3. All right, so that emptiness is the main thing that you got to be willing to deal with. It's the reason why many people never actually knock down their big dominoes because they don't want to deal with that emptiness. Now, I'm having an episode coming on this very subject of the void. I'm going to talk about this in more detail very soon. So look out for that. Moving on to point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is knocking down or identifying and knocking down the big dominoes in your life. Number 3, the big dominoes are how the big jumps in your life occur. So if you think about it, many of you have knocked down big dominoes in your life before. Right? If you have children and you've seen your child go from laying in the bassinet to then they could sit up on their own power, then they could stand up, and then they could walk, and then they could run, and then they went from just crying to actually making noises with their mouths on purpose to kind of sort of saying words and kind of sounding like the words you're trying to get them to say to where they could put together full sentences. And is the reason why most of us these days, we can stand up, we can walk, and we can talk on our own power. All of us went through these. So we all knocked down some big dominoes in our lives. And to go from not talking to talking, to go from laying down in a carriage to standing up to walking to running to, some of you are jumping and performing human feats physically as athletes. Those are all big jumps, big dominoes that we have all knocked down in our own lives. Any of you who's in, think about your career. Think about your income level right now, your income level 10 years ago. Have you made a jump? Many of you have made many big jumps in your life. So it's not that knocking down a big domino is some brand new experience for you. You have actually done it many times. Any of you listening to this who can stand up on your own power, you can walk and you can talk, and yeah, you can stand up on your own power, walk and talk, then you've made big jumps in life, all right? Because nobody comes out of the womb able to do those 3 things. So we've all done this. And there are many other areas of your life in which you have already done this. So don't look at this as this is not actually a brand new thing. Now, it may be more rare for you as opposed to 35 years ago when you were a baby, but it's not that it's the thing is, as you get older, it becomes harder to do when it comes to knocking down the big domino simply because of your own knowledge, actually. It's easier to knock down a big domino when you're ignorant of the whole situation, like as a baby. But as an adult, you're aware of everything. You're aware of your peers. You're aware of where you used to be. You're aware of maybe what you think other people expect of you and how they look at you. So knocking down these big dominoes and making these big jumps may be uncomfortable for you. Again, it's much more of a social, mental, emotional challenge than it is just a physical or just do the thing challenge like it is for a 2-year-old baby. So, but rather, this is where all the big jumps happen. And the big jumps happen, again, not by knocking down small things over and over and over again. Let me say that again. The big jumps in your life do not happen because you knock down small things over and over and over again. Big jumps in your life happen by making big shifts that we are usually aware of, either in whole or in part, that again remove us out of our normal modes of operation. You have to get out of your normal mode in order to make a big jump in life. The real reason people don't make big jumps is never because of ignorance. It's not because you don't know something. So any of you who's using ignorance as your reasoning for not doing your thing, no, ignorance is not the reason. It's a convenient excuse, but it's not the reason. It is not because you don't have skills. That's also not the reason. It is not because nobody's helping you. Also, no. It's not because you lack resources. Not that either. Simply because human beings are creatures of habit. We usually form certain habits in a young adulthood, and we stick to those same habits basically throughout our lives. And it's not the habits are bad things. So you choose the right habits and you stick to them, they can actually be a good thing. They keep you in great shape. They can make you a lot of money. They can make you happy, successful, known, etc., etc. But to make a big shift in life, you must drop some of those habits and pick up some new ones. Any kind of shift you're trying to make, you got to drop a habit, pick up a new one, period. So it's easier for us as creatures of habit to continue to do the same stuff we've always done and make incremental progress one step at a time than it would be to do different things and make big progress 10, 20, 30 steps at a time. Now, some of you may say, well, Dre, you know what? I'm okay making small progress. I'm okay just slowly moving up. So you're okay going from 80,000 a year to 81,000, 82, 83, 84 over the next 4 years. So just go up $1,000 a year. You'd be happy with that. Whereas there are other people here who say, well, Dre, I'm at 80,000. Next year, I want to be at 100. Then I want to be at 120. Then I want to get to 180. Then I'm trying to get to 300. Then I want to get to 600. Then I want to get to a million. All right, you're trying to jump a little bit bigger, a little bit faster. All right, and listen, I don't judge you whichever way you want to do it, but I'm just, again, as I say here all the time, I'm just telling you what your options are, and I'm telling you what's going to happen based on your behavior. And again, you don't have to take my word for it. Look at your own life. You can see it. If I'm wrong, somebody let me know. So this seems very simple, and it seems so simple, as a matter of fact, that some people don't even believe this to be true. But if you really think hard about it, use your own life as an example. You will see how true this really is. You don't have to take my word for any of this. You can thank me for presenting it to you and giving you a perspective from which to look at it. But your own life is a prime example of everything I'm telling you here and everything that I tell you every day on the show. This is an emotional and mental challenge. It is not a resource or physical challenge. It has nothing to do with your abilities. It has everything to do with the way that you think and your ability to control your emotions. And again, when I do my episode on the void, you'll understand this even better. That's coming up in a few days. So first, let's recap today's class, which is identifying the big dominoes in your life. Again, these are the things that, when they're completed, addressed, or handled, do most of the heavy lifting for moving you forward. In other words, you want to move forward quickly and in a big way in your life. Most important thing you must do is identify a big domino and stop messing around and playing around with the small ones. Number one, it is not easy or convenient to deal with a big domino. All right, so that's the first sign that you know you're dealing with a big domino. It is not easy for you to do, nor is it convenient. If things you're doing are easy and convenient, they're not big dominoes. Number two, they take you out of your normal mode of operation. In other words, your comfort zone. You have to do something that you are uncomfortable doing that is outside of your normal process of behavior. So if you're doing the same things you always do, that's fine, and sometimes that's good. Right? How many of you work out every day? How many of you spend time with your kids every day? That's a good thing. You should do that every day. But when it comes to knocking over a big domino, is going to be something that you're not doing all the time. So probably something that you don't do at all. Number three, this is how the big jumps in life occur. You want to make a big shift in your life, you must knock down a big domino. You can't keep playing around with the small dominoes that are comfortable for you. And again, the easiest way to identify this is to get around someone, usually a coach, who is qualified to identify where your big domino is, which again is not going to be news to you what the big domino is. Now, maybe it's news to you how you can handle it or why you should handle it or what tools you can use to address it. But it won't be something that's brand new that you're like, damn, I never in my life even knew that existed. It's your life. So when someone helps you identify a big domino, not going to be something that you don't know about. It just may be a different approach to it that you had never thought about. That's what the big domino does. That's the value of coaching. And all of you need to get one if you plan on making big jumps in your life. And again, the biggest issue with this is emotional and mental. It is not physical. It is not skill based, because there's a space in between the old place that you were when you're leaving the small dominoes and the new places you're going by knocking down the big domino. And that empty space in between those two places, that's the problem that most people have. And that's most people are afraid of that. And that's the reason why most people never advance. But if you keep listening to this show and you go to Work on Your Game University, you will advance, and I will see to it. So, two things for you to know. Text me 305-384-6894 so you get my daily motivation, Monday motivation texts that come out respectively every day and week. And that number's down below in the description. Also down there is the link to Work on Your Game University. That's the only place I do any coaching. You want to be coached by me directly, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That is the only way to have me as the person working with you and taking you, helping you go where you're going to go. You're going to take yourself there, but I'm going to help you get there. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre,